I don't know what kind of gardener I would be if I didn't devote at least one entire video to my favorite perennial of all time before their season was over. Because not only are these berries extremely low maintenance and high reward, they're also really good for you, and there's a lot of really cool things that you can do with them. If you haven't guessed already, I'm talking about strawberries, and today I'm actually going to be specifically talking about what I do with my June-bearing strawberries. But before I get into that, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about them, because every time people see my colander full of pounds and pounds of these fresh berries that I'm picking daily, they want to know what kind of strawberry they are exactly and what I'm doing to get them to grow so big. And the answer may disappoint you. The truth is, if you don't know already, I live on a property that I share with my whole family, and my mom planted all of these strawberry plants over the last 5 to 10 years, and she kind of lost track of what variety she was growing. So while we know they're a June-bearing type, we don't know what kind of June-bearing type they are. So that can be kind of frustrating, because they do grow extremely well here, and I would love to know what they are so that we can grow more of them. I think they may be Surecrop or Albion, but I honestly couldn't tell you. And part of what people thought was so cool about them was how big the berries are. And I do think that there's more variation in the berry size than maybe comes across in the videos that you've seen of me picking strawberries this spring. One of the things that I learned while I was working on an organic farm in my early 20s was that if it was going to rain, they wanted to get out there and pick those berries as soon as possible before that rain hit, because berries actually suck up tons and tons of groundwater, especially when it's raining, which can actually dilute their flavor. So bigger is not better when it comes to strawberries, actually. I think the reason that my berries looked so huge at the beginning of the year was just due to the fact that we got a ton of rain right before those berries were actually ready to be harvested. So by the time they were ripe, they had sucked up all that extra moisture, which meant that they actually weren't quite as sweet as they normally are. That's not to say they weren't delicious strawberries, and I always will tell you that strawberries, I think, are the perfect gateway plant to gardening, because once you have a fresh picked strawberry, you can never go back to store-bought. They're just a completely different food. They taste so much better homegrown or picked from the farm. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's being picked at the point of ripeness, not before it, in order for it to ship well. And it's being picked before rain can generally hit it and dilute those flavors further. But even a diluted strawberry flavor from your garden is going to taste a lot better than one from the grocery store. And besides the fact that we've gotten a lot of rain, I think the reason that our berries are so happy is because we use kind of a permaculture food forest approach to our plantings in other parts of the yard that I don't necessarily show you a whole lot of. So this property is actually about an acre, and I would say about a third of that is growing food or flowers. I of course show you what I'm mostly working on, but since my mom planted all those strawberries, they're planted in more of a food forest environment, surrounded by lots of other beneficial plants. We've got elderberry, we've got raspberries, there's shade from a dwarf Japanese maple in one section. And strawberries really function as a beautiful living mulch and ground cover, and I think they just live really symbiotically with other plants. So when you plant them in a monoculture environment, you're just not going to see the same results, in my opinion. And in my own experience, having had dedicated strawberry patches versus just scattering them in among other gardens and plantings, I've noticed a huge difference in the health and happiness of those plants when they're integrated with other species. A great companion plant for strawberries that we talk about a lot is actually asparagus. We do have asparagus and strawberries growing together because they have totally opposite growth patterns. The one note to this is to make sure you are planting June-bearing, not ever-bearing varieties, just because by the time an ever-bearing variety is actually reaching that stage of ripeness, it will be overshadowed by the huge asparagus ferns that come up once the asparagus is done at the beginning of spring. We never fertilize our strawberries. We never water our strawberries once they're established after the first year. They are totally on their own, self-sufficient plants. I've never experienced any diseases or bug type pests with my strawberries. However, the second most common question that I get asked about my strawberries, besides what type they are, is how am I getting any that don't have any chipmunk, rabbit, bird nibbles in them? And the truth is, I am getting berries that have nibbles in them. I just throw those ones aside, chuck them into the compost. If it's a small nibble like a slug bite, I will probably just cut that out and eat around it. But the fact is that our wildlife neighbors are hungry too, and can you blame them for wanting a strawberry of all things? So what we try to do is just plant a lot more than we need. Even a industrial scale agricultural farmer expects to lose 20 to 30% of their crop to wildlife. This is something we need to account for in a home garden too. We also try to scatter them, like I said, throughout the property, so some areas tend to get hit a little bit harder by the bunnies than others. But unless you have those strawberries under literal lock and key, it's impossible to keep those munching critters away. I'm telling you right now, don't even waste your time. It's going to happen. We let our strawberries kind of multiply themselves by letting the runners continue to just spread wherever they want to. You can cut those runners and propagate them yourself. If you want to try to grow strawberries and you're experiencing a ton of pest pressure, but you really don't want to go to the effort of fencing them in, the only other solution that I have for you is to do something like this green stalk. Because it's a vertical tower, pretty much no pests ever touch it. Even slugs have not been an issue with these towers. I will link those down below. They're extremely popular for growing strawberries in for that reason. But what am I doing with all of these strawberries? At this point, I've got probably 6-gallon bags in the freezer, and what I've been doing is just every night bringing in the colander full, hulling them with my special strawberry huller, rinsing them off and putting them on a sheet pan, and I'll freeze those flat on the sheet pan for 1 to 2 hours before I kind of break them up and throw them into a gallon baggie, because otherwise they'll freeze into one solid block and it's just super, super annoying. But I think strawberries are one of the best things to have in your freezer for winter because they just taste like summer to me. So to have those set aside, it's just kind of reassuring, honestly, to know that I'll be able to enjoy those flavors even later in the dark depths of winter. As for the fresh strawberries, I had a couple of really amazing recipes come my way this year that I've been able to try. My favorite by far was a strawberry pie. This is a recipe from New York Times Cooking, and basically all that you do is you cut up like 8 cups of strawberries and you cook a portion of that down into a really simple quick jam with cornstarch, and the rest of the strawberries are chopped up fresh and mixed in with that jam, which holds everything together. You make a shortbread crust, you pour that filling in and you chill it for like 4 hours. So you don't even need to turn your oven on. And then you just top that with whipped cream. And I think the best part of this recipe is the ratio of sugar is spot on. It is not too sweet. It lets the tartness of the strawberries shine through while still feeling like a really light, refreshing dessert. And then the other main things that I've been doing with my strawberries right now, besides just like baking them into muffins and crumbly oat bars, is to make them into drinks. And I've done this a few different ways. First of all, you could do my slushy method, condense those strawberry tops down into a syrup and mix that with a tiny bit of xanthan gum and crushed ice in a blender. And this will actually give it that thick, rich, slushy consistency as opposed to like an icy where things can kind of get separated, but the xanthan gum is key for that. You can also take that strawberries top syrup and mix it with vodka, lemon juice, and water for a spiked strawberry lemonade, or just eliminate the vodka for a plain strawberry lemonade, which is still delicious. Agua frescas are another really great option where you're just taking your chilled strawberries, blending them up with some water and sugar, and topping that with ice and lime juice. But the strawberry tops and the strawberry berries themselves are not the only edible part of the strawberry plant. You can also eat the leaves of a strawberry plant, and those can be brewed into a delicious, extremely healthy tea. I did this as a sun tea and mixed in some sage and marigolds as well. And then I muddled up some lemon verbena once I actually steeped and poured it out. I also have a recipe from the New York Times that I really love for like kind of a strawberry slump cake, and it's almost like a pound cake that you mix the strawberries into. It's like straight butter. It's so, so, so good. And last but not least, the classic strawberry shortcake. Now, I've heard that this can be kind of regional, so let me know which option is normal for you. But for strawberry shortcake, you can either get those pre-made little mini angel food cakes that have like the scoop out in the middle, chop your strawberries and top that with whipped cream, or what I've always done, which really my sibling does, and it is so good, is make more like a scone or like a biscuit base, and you have that with the chopped strawberries and whipped cream. And something about it's just a little bit more rustic and unrefined, which I think goes very well with the freshness of the strawberries. That is all that I have for you today. I hope strawberry season has been treating you well. Let me know what your favorite strawberry recipes are in the comments, because like I said, I still have so many strawberries sitting in my freezer ready to be used. Thank you so much for gardening with me, and happy growing.